At Warbler Ridge, conservation is the name of the game. I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence, and in this episode of Take a Hike, we'll introduce you to the Grand Prairie Friends, what they do here, and why you should take a hike to this 1,100-acre space.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go too far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas across Illinois, and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Take a Hike. I'm your host, Lacey Spence, and today we're just minutes from the WEIU studios. We are here at Warbler Ridge, and we've got a new guest on our show. Can you please introduce yourself and who you are?
Absolutely. I'm Sarah Livesey. I am the Executive Director for Grand Prairie Friends. We're a conservation land trust right here in Charleston, Illinois.
Wonderful. And so you were telling me off camera that there are a lot of little pieces that make up the beauty that is Warbler Ridge. Can you kind of talk about that?
Absolutely. So Warbler Ridge Conservation Area is an 1,100-acre nature preserve. And we are nestled right along the Embraw River, right here, just south of Charleston, Illinois, really between the Lake Charleston natural space and the Fox Ridge State Park natural space. And over the last decade, Grand Prairie Friends have worked very hard to purchase and then manage different parcels of land between the lake and Fox Ridge State Park so that we create this land corridor between the two natural spaces. And so instead of this town owning their 2,000 acres and the Fox Ridge owning all their thousands of acres, we now can stitch together effectively 4,000 acres of natural space together, working together between the city and the state, and then a private nonprofit like Grand Prairie Friends.
Which is so spectacular because a lot of people just think of, we're in the Midwest, we're in Central Illinois, it's just corn and beans, it's flat, that's it. Not here.
No, not at Warbler Ridge, and hence the name Ridges. As many people know, in this area we are blessed with ridges and ravines left behind by that Wisconsin glacier that did not make it just this far. So when you're on that Interstate 57 headed up to Champaign, you'll see it becomes very flat and you can see for miles and miles and miles, but not here. Right at the edge of this Wisconsin glacier, Charleston was left with ridges and ravines that you can only get in this area. In just a short drive, your hike completely changes.
Definitely. So let's back up a little bit. You've mentioned Grand Prairie Friends. That's who you are representing. So what is Grand Prairie Friends? What is the land trust? Fill us in.
Yes. So Grand Prairie Friends is a conservation land trust. That's a nonprofit organization. So not a taxing body, not supported by taxes or a government entity by any means. We began in 1984 as a group of concerned citizens that got together, and this grassroots organization was formed, Grand Prairie Friends, to preserve all natural spaces, forests, wetlands, prairies. The name Grand Prairie Friends came because that is the natural division we're sitting in right now. This is the Grand Prairie of Illinois. And so hence the name Grand Prairie Friends. And since 1984, we've now acquired, like I said, over almost 1,200 acres across East Central Illinois. So our farthest north property is Watseka, Illinois, and then heading south all the way down to Neoga, Illinois. So actually here today at Warbler Ridge, this is not our furthest south property. Yeah. That would be in Shelby County, and All of our properties are open to the public. That's one of the most important things for my board of directors. They know that we have to create that next generation of stewards to take care and to learn to love these lands. And so all of our sites are open dawn to dusk every day. And so that's what we've done for the last 38 years as a nonprofit organization.
Well, and we want to make sure that we get the word out to let folks know what there is to do here. You mentioned being open to the public. So throughout the year, what kind of events do you all typically hold?
Absolutely. So we have a variety. First of all, I think the peacefulness and the serenity of this site is the best event, to be quite honest. We are a hidden gem. When you go to the lake, you will have opportunities such as playgrounds and pavilions and things. When you go to Fox Ridge, you have camping and some of those amenities. At Warbler Ridge, our priority is conservation first, and then it is human amenity and enjoying it second, and getting those people in for education and outreach. So that's the difference between some of the other parcels. Our job is to preserve and restore these prairies, these forests, these woodlands. And so as a land trust, that's our focus. That's our mission. But we understand we want people in to help us with that mission. Yeah. Our members, our donors, our volunteers. So in order to do that, we have every Saturday, the first Saturday of every month, we have what's called Stewardship Saturday. And it's not just the stewardship of these natural areas, but it's stewardship with each other, with people that have like-minded conservation values and want to help these special places. Some days we're pulling fences, some days we're cutting branches out of trees, whatever that looks like. But throughout the year, we also have fall festivals. We just had our fall fete recently. We have that in September of each year. We also have an open house in the spring every year. So besides occasional bird walks and things like that, people can always visit our website and find a listing of events that are coming up.
And are you all on social media as well?
Absolutely. So we are on Facebook, and we have both a Grand Prairie Friends page and a Warbler Ridge Conservation Area page. And then we have a really robust website that lists all of our events. It has videos and news and even organizational background information to know more about why you might want to get involved with Grand Prairie Friends.
Well, I think that's awesome. And I think it's great that you're talking about these stewardship days, because a lot of times parents maybe don't know how to introduce that appreciation, that love, that how to care for your environment. And so being able to be hands-on and learn here, as well as all the looking you're doing, all the beautiful views you're taking in. Wonderful what you all are doing here. This particular site that we're at, we've got a lovely bit of garden behind us. Can you talk about that?
I would love to. So what you see behind you is our native plant garden. This was a labor of love and a project of the local Master Naturalist group. So Master Naturalists are a group of the University of Illinois Extension Office. And here in this region, Coles, Moultrie, Shelby, Clark, Cumberland, those counties came together to have this Master Naturalist group that have poured so much love and attention and education into building this native plant garden. One of the main things that Grand Prairie Friends does is advocate and try to educate about why we plant native plants. So many times we can go to nurseries and orchards and buy whatever we want for our landscaping. But when you choose native plants, you're making a wonderful choice to support your natural areas. These plants that are supposed to be here, native, pre-settlement, that means that they are adapted to the diseases in this area and that they are habitat to the animals that live in these areas. They are food, they are shelter. And so when you do that, you're supporting the natural areas. When you buy exotic or non-native plants, you're not providing that food and shelter for the local animals and birds that live here. Also, they can bring in different diseases and they can outcompete our native plants. There's a lot of issues with bringing in exotic or non-native. And so we have an annual native plant sale, and we do a lot of education around using native plants in your home. So this is a very important showpiece for us, and our Master Naturalists have done such a wonderful job with this. So definitely something to come out and see.
And it was nice when we first rolled up, we saw a couple of monarchs. So hopefully we can circle back and show our view of some of those. Also at this site, there is a lovely red building further behind us, probably not in our shot. But can you tell us a little bit of the significance of that, especially historically?
Yes. So Warbler Ridge, the first property that was bought was about 10 years ago. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary of Warbler Ridge, and this was the first property that was acquired. And the little red shack, we call it, behind us was there all the time. This has been our site where our first volunteers would come into the community and they gathered at the shack. And just 5 years ago, in fact, for the first 32 years, Grand Prairie Friends was an all volunteer conservation group. There were no staff. So they would assemble at the shack, they would get the tools they needed for the day, and then they would go about their business and work on this land. And so it has a rich history and culture for us at Grand Prairie Friends. And now the significance is that we have given some love and attention to the shack, new windows, things like that. So it has become kind of our home hearth where we have our events and our speakers come and give presentations. And it's just that place that feels like home to us. So.
And we've hit on festivals and things that kind of happen throughout the year, keeping tabs with you on Facebook. One of the other things out here that's a huge draw would be the trails.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk about the trail system, what you have to offer?
Yes. So over the past 6 or 7 years, we've now built up 10.5 miles of trails throughout the Warbler Ridge Conservation Area. So our trails are unique in that the topography here at Warbler Ridge is unique, and it can be quite challenging. So we have now a system of trails that weave throughout the what we call the upland portion of Warbler Ridge, also down in near the river areas of Warbler Ridge. So it can easily take up to 2 or 3 hours to do a single trail, depending on the pattern you take. We even have one of the most beautiful cemetery areas at the highest ridge here in Warbler Ridge, and it is a family cemetery, the Mackenzie Waltrip Cemetery. And we have a Cemetery Ridge Trail. It's beautiful. It takes about 2 hours round trip from this, where you and I are sitting today. But just this past weekend, here in September 2022, we opened the Aspen Trail. So the Aspen Trail is for those visitors that don't feel necessarily like they want to take a 2-hour walk, but they would love to be out and experience some of the beauty of these ridges. And so we opened this half-mile loop for those people with smaller families or people with mobility issues, so that they can also have the experience without worrying about their abilities to get there and back safely. And so we're so excited about the Warbler Loop Trail. That's a new amenity, brand new to Warbler Ridge.
Wonderful. And I'm sorry if you had said it. Where can folks find the start for that again?
Yes. So Aspen, right here at the home base, the little red shack area, the Aspen Trail starts right behind there. And there are trailhead signs that'll help them maneuver through that loop. So
wonderful. We've got that wide variety of fitness levels for sure. So to pivot a little bit, this site has a lot to do with bats.
Yeah.
We were just saying that we were taping late September of 2022. You all just had some sort of event. Can you fill us in? Why are we Bats About Bats around here?
Yeah, Bats About Bats. That is so good. Yes. So it started really about 5 or 6 years ago. A research team from Eastern Illinois University and University of Illinois were here at Warbler Ridge, and they identified and captured bats that were endangered, specifically the Indiana bat. And this was a first occurrence. It was wonderful news to hear that one of the endangered bats might be living here in Coles County and using this as habitat. From that spurred movement for us as Grand Prairie Friends to preserve that land and enhance that habitat for this endangered species. And we saw the opportunity, and so did so many other people. So we jumped on that. we purchased the land, and we have planted thousands of trees for these tree specialist bats, specifically the Indiana bat. And just recently we installed an artificial bat habitat. They are essentially tall poles with an artificial bark wrapped around it. And we did this about 3 years ago, knowing it may take many years for the bats to adapt to this. But in just a short time, the bats have already taken residence.
Wow.
And we have now a maternity colony of mothers having pups in these. They are reproducing. It is a conservation story like none other. I've done this for 25 years, and very rarely do you get to see the product of your work. And so this is just one of those conservation stories that will go down in history as such a success. And so that's why Grand Prairie Friends and Warbler Ridge is so batty, because we are blessed to have these amazing Indiana bats taking residence here and really using the habitat that we've built.
Now, before we take a quick break, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you would love to share? I would love to let you have the floor because I can tell how passionate you are about this site, and I don't want to leave anything out.
I think one of the most important things about Warbler Ridge is the people that have adopted Warbler Ridge, that they come and they volunteer their time and talent and treasure on a very routine basis. We have teams of volunteers. One is our Ridge Rover team, people that just have loved the trails and they adopt trails and monitor the trails. We have bat monitors that come out at night and count the exit and entry of the different bats in the bat houses so we can report that to the scientists. We also have champion stewards that come in and work on land management. We have volunteers from the Master Naturalist and 4-H and the Scouts that come out and help us with different projects, from benches to native plants. And these people just routinely become part of that fabric of Warbler Ridge. So it is the people that I think is one of the best stories hidden in Warbler Ridge.
And if I'm not already involved and have, a hand in preserving, keeping up with Warbler Ridge, what's the best way I can connect with you all to get involved?
Yes. So, we have this Stewardship Saturday, the first Saturday of every month, which is a very low-key 2 hours, 9 to 11, where everyone can just come and meet each other and become part of that community and really try it out. Does this fit for me? What is my fit? We have people that love the site, but they aren't mobile enough to do land management. But they may want to fold newsletters, or they may want to help with a scout group. Everyone has a niche to find. And so we have these very easy ways to assimilate into the community. And we also have a wonderful volunteer coordinator. Her name is Diane. And so people can reach out at any time and just say, I'm interested. Where do I fit? And we would love to help them find that fit.
Wonderful. It's like if you've got skills, we'll use them.
Oh, yes.
Everyone's got one.
A baker, a candlestick maker, whatever you might be, we need it. We need all those skills. So, yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then Sarah here is going to take us into the Warbler Bottoms. So don't go anywhere. Take a hike. We'll be right back. And we are back. We are making our way into the Warbler Bottoms, kind of at the top of the bottom. We're going to get filled in on where we're standing. So Sarah, take it away.
So here, this is the area, you're exactly right, that we call Warbler Bottoms. We are in the floodplain now, hugging that Embra River. And so in this area, what we have done is plant 70,000 trees. 70,000 trees are hidden in and among this grassland pollinator. And so the little trees will soon, we hope, oaks and hickories, many, many years from now, turn into trees that will be habitat for that endangered Indiana bat that we are working so hard to produce that habitat for. And when we do that, it's not just trees, but we have to make sure that the water, the food source, really it's a one-stop shop for those Indiana bats. So the pollinator plantings bring in the moths and the butterflies that are great food for the bats. So in that, we're doing the food, the water, the shelter. We're making sure that all those habitat components are here. So a lot of people ask about the fencing.
Yeah.
The fence is to protect that investment of 70,000 trees. The bats share this home with deer. So white-tailed deer like to come in, obviously, and eat those trees. So we were able to create a fencing strategy to help and keep those deer from the trees.
So if folks are coming out here, there's nothing crazy behind, nothing worth getting to.
Yes.
It's just here to protect the trees, protect the wildlife.
Yes.
I do have to ask, though, at certain points during the year, are there hunting opportunities that folks need to watch out for or keep note of?
Yes. So right here in this Warbler Bottoms area that we are in, it is closed October, November, and December. And that is for hunting opportunities, specifically for our deer management strategy. So not really for the recreation of it, but those are volunteers that help us manage the deer population. That is the number one reason why we do allow hunting on this property as a deer management tool.
Wonderful. Good information to note if you're planning on visiting. So we are going to now transition a little bit further into the bottoms. And here we are. We've made it to the bottom of the bottoms. We are just off the Embra River. So you were telling me that there is a lot of research that goes on at Warbler Ridge, some specifically along the river, or they wanted to. Can you talk about it?
Yes. So we are lucky enough to have these amazing researchers that find value in conservation work and have dedicated their lives as professionals to research, and from universities across the United States. But specifically, we have a lot of researchers, of course, from Illinois, and they study everything from the plants and the animals, the birds, and of course, the water of Warbler Ridge. And the mud puppy is one of our amphibians, our native amphibians here, somewhat salamander-like, somewhat interesting. Some people say it looks like a snake. I've had people even say they thought they caught a catfish on their line, but it was actually a mud puppy. But these are amphibians, and they do live in the Embra River. And so that is one of the hot research topics. We also have red-headed woodpecker research going on right now, along with a variety of creatures that we like to see down here on the river. River otters are now back and something we see, whereas just 15 years ago, those were reintroduced right here along the Embra River at the Fox Ridge State Park. And so muskrat, mink, you name it, this is habitat for a lot of creatures.
And as we're standing out here, I mean, even the amount of deer tracks in the sand here is crazy.
Yes. And we've had a weasel that's been caught on our trail cams quite often lately. So we love to tell the stories that are hidden out here at Warbler Ridge.
Wonderful. We've got one more quick stop that's got to do with another critter. So let's take a look. Let's take a hike.
Okay.
And after a quick hike at the Warbler Ridge Bottoms, we've reached our final stop. We've got some bat habitat. We're batty about bats here. Can you tell us about this project a little bit more?
Absolutely. So this is our artificial bat habitat. And what you see behind you are a series of 2 different options we've given to the bats here at Warbler Ridge. One of them are essentially power poles that have an artificial bark called Brandon bark. Scientists have engineered this bark to mimic bark because that's what these bats like. They like to crawl up under the bark. These Indiana bats specifically like oak and hickory. So we've tried to mimic that through these artificial bat roosts. And then you also see some of the more traditional bat houses. We call those rocket boxes. And the rocket boxes are designed to get the bats very warm. They love to be very warm and have the space that they need. And so we've been very lucky that in the evening times we can count our bat volunteers come out and sometimes count up to 300 or 400 bats exiting right at sundown.
Well, as we're taping this in September, that sounds perfectly set up for Halloween time.
It does. And the secret, actually, our science secret for the day is that these bats are getting ready to leave. And so they will migrate south for the winter time. They won't be here at Halloween.
Okay.
But then they will come back to us in the spring.
Well, wonderful. Sarah, thank you so much. You've been a wealth of information. Thank you for coming on Take a Hike.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this.
Awesome. Well, we hope our viewers will join us for our next episode of Take a Hike. We'll see you then.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.